Hello ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking about this little board right here. Some call it the little critter, some call it the Magnum Opus. I call it the Magnum Opus because it's kind of like a symphony, but it's a really special board to me because it's a cross between fish, the TRascal, actually this board right here, it's that rocker and bottom of the TRascal, and then we fused it halfway between a shortboard outline and a fishy outline. So it's like fusing the best of two worlds together for a, marginal fishy type waves, but ripping board. And I got with me here today Nick Rozsa, who went crazy on this thing. Rode the very first one we made. Actually rode this first.
Yeah.
At Small Rincon, and this was so fun that then it was Nick's idea. Said, hey, why don't we put like a hole in the nose, put a little more compact tail, but use the exact same rocker. So that's just what I did.
Yeah.
And then we went to the Kelly pool and tried this at the Kelly pool.
Yeah, and it went insane. No, I think I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure you were like trying to drag me out to go surfing, and I was like, I don't know if I want to ride.
No, you dragged me out.
I dragged you out to Rincon?
Yeah, you dragged me out to
Okay.
Rincon.
So apparently I wanted to surf, and I hadn't been surfing at all. So.
I dragged you out for this one.
Okay. Well, either way,
in the summertime.
One way or the other, one of us dragged someone, one
Yeah.
of the others out. But I remember specifically telling Todd, like, dude, I just want to ride something like fun, like fishy, like I don't really want, like I'm kind of fat, out of shape, and like, haven't been surfing at all for like the last like 5 years. So I was like, I just want to ride something that's like fat, wide, and fishy, and like that I can go fast on. And he's like, dude, I got the perfect board for you, which ended up being this board. And we went to Rincon, and I mean, I don't like, this is not something I would normally look at and go, yeah, I'm going to go out and have a blast on this thing, because I've always been so used to riding like, higher performance boards and all that stuff. But I remember like the minute I jumped up on this thing at Rincon, I mean, it must have been like knee to waist high. But the moment I jumped up on this thing, I was going like Mach 10, and I was thinking like, and you gotta remember, I'm like so fat and so out of shape. I can't emphasize it enough, but I was so fat and so out of shape. And this thing, I remember I was going so fast on it, going like, dude, there's, like, I don't know, to me, I was thinking, there's no way, like, I'm going this fast. Or maybe I'm just thinking of going fast, but, I remember thinking, like, dude, Todd, is this, like, thing going as fast as it really, like, feels like it's going? And I never tried one of the 2+1 setups either. So, like, I remember this whole, everything, really, about this board was all new for me. But this part really stood out to me the most was the big side fins and the little tiny thruster in the back. And I instantly fell in love with like the amount of speed that I could generate in such small waves, and then just how much drive there was still too, like off of the bigger side fins. But then there was still this little guy back here that kind of helped keep it in the wave. So you kind of get like the really good feel of like a twin fin, but with this little guy you get like that extra little bit of push you would normally want to feel when you're doing like a big carve or something that you don't really get. Yeah, you don't quite get with a twin.
Pull it all the way around.
So it's kind of this really cool like mixture of the two. And like I said, I instantly fell in love with this board. And the one thing that I like in my head, because that's just how I am, I'm always like, well, bigger, better, faster. I don't know. Like let's try to tweak this thing to make it like a higher performance version of it. This thing's still insanely fun. Like I love riding this thing and like slop, like little like mini Rincon or mini Malibu Point or something like that. It thing's a little rocket ship. But I was like, dude, let's make one that's like when it gets like chest to head high and has more of a performance shape to it. And that's essentially what this one is.
Same rockers, same identical. Actually, I added just a little bit of rocker, like just the last like 6 inches, just for more, when you're pulling a tighter turn, but it's really similar. But everything from there down is identical. The whole contours, rail, everything. And this one even still rides with the bigger side fins and a smaller trailer fin. And you can do different stuff. I've had people ride it with a thruster, say they like it even more as a thruster. Some of these, for me personally, I like making this back fin here bigger, so for even more hold. And so something unique.
It has the flatter deck.
Yeah, it's got the flatter deck.
And
So all the foam, like you take almost like a 1/4 inch, or like even over a 1/4 inch out of what you would normally put for the thickness in your board, because it's not, doesn't go off like the dome principle. It goes off of flat, you know, almost kind of an 80s board principle, flatter deck. But the foam, since it's flatter, it carries all the way out here, and then it's got this real tapered pinched rail. It's almost like a Lopez down railer type rail, but modernized, and then thin through here, so you can really knife it over, so you can sink that rail. So it's not too big and bulky like fishes can sometimes be, big and bulky, and then you're on top of the water, kind of skimming across. This you can really lay it over, and actually this board, I would say, is more of like a in the pocket, like swiveling ball bearing type of a ride than just a straight like shooter.
Yeah.
And
100%.
and so then the other thing,
The big side fins is where it really, like, I guess, dawned on me that there was something special about that whole setup back there, because I've always been used to riding thrusters, so the two big side fins felt like, I don't know how to explain it, but it felt like with that little trailer in the back, it made it feel like a thruster, like, in a sense, but I could push even harder with the two big side fins than I could almost with a regular thruster.
because more fin, more leverage, more drive,
Yeah,
more follow
so
through.
the coolest thing about this board is it's not like, you know, you think of a fish or like a quad or something like that, where it's like, you know, you're kind of just flinging the thing around, and it's just super easy to, like, you know, and it turns like, or like maybe you want to throw your fins, or it's going to slide here and there, and but it's like the polar opposite. This thing, like, when you get in a hook on a wave and it kind of slingshots you into the pocket, you can push as hard as you want, and like, and
It's a
not,
gouger. Like,
yeah.
it's a gouger instead of a skimmer.
No, it's not. It's like, it's not even a fish at that point anymore. Almost
Yeah.
like you're coming up into the pocket, and you're driving and pushing as hard as you want through that turn, and it's not going to slide out. It's not going to, like, flop over or do anything weird. And that was when I remember thinking, like, dude, this thing.
And the trip is too. Like, I didn't expect that either. I thought it would be more of like just like a fun, like,
Yeah.
skate across skimmer.
Yeah.
And the fact that it turned into this like gougeaholic is a trip, because it's flat to kind of a regular standard, not real heavy or anything, a moderate single concave under the front foot to a triplane hole above the fins, and then at the fins it's actually a V,
Yeah.
spiral V with concaves cut through it, and then the V goes right off the tail with, you know, concaves in the V the whole way through. Usually that type of a hull contour is more of like a skimmer glider, but I think you had mentioned this straighter rail line here.
Yeah.
Like through here, the rail line really is pretty straight, doesn't have a ton of curves. So once you get that laid over, it holds incredible. And with the big side fins, and I think this thing does, the gnarliest thing it does is not so much the like section clearing as the like lip line, gouge, follow through, you know.
That's what I'm saying, is it's not the like the fishy skatey type of board you'd think it would be, like where you're like, oh, I'm gonna go ride it and, like, you know, knee to waist high, like, and grovel and skate through all these little sections and flat spots. It's like, it's kind of more like a good small wave board.
Yeah.
Like your small point break wave where you get a little bit of a bowl,
Like a little funnel.
and a little pocket, and you can still do like little S carves and like top turns and kind of stay in the pocket of the wave. And that's when that board really shines. You can
And
really
what was
push
funny
around.
too is after riding that at Rincon, and then your idea for this,
Yeah.
it was like, oh, I was thinking kind of one-dimensional, like, oh, we're gonna make this 2-pack of boards for like front side surfing at a point break in small,
Yeah.
you know, dinky waves, and then this works really good on the backhand too.
Yeah,
when we
no,
took it to the Kelly pool, like the backhand wave where I was going like,
The very first wave
I
I
even
stood
said
up.
to you, don't ride it on the lefts.
Yeah,
Stay
yeah.
on the rights.
I
It's
know,
only
I
going to
know.
work on the rights. And then I'm like, why is it going on the left? And then I was like,
No, it
am I seeing what I'm seeing?
No,
it works backside.
dude, it works. Yeah, it's like the most. I don't know. I remember like thinking like, okay, it's just gonna be a fun skatey, like, you know, just like race down line, do a couple snaps, da 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 da, and it ended up being like this total game changer for me. Like, got me fired up on surfing again. Kind of like what the Monster did for me when I started surfing.
This board right here?
Yeah, that one right there. The OG.
The OG. I keep it right here. Keep this board right here. Special board.
Yeah.
Any board that reignites like a love for surfing.
Yeah.
Special board.
That was like, that's kind of what this board kind of did for me the second time around. It's like, this was kind of the one that got me fired up back like in the water. And it's cool because I can ride it in almost everything. I mean, over the last 2 months, we've surfed rincon, beach breaks, little wedges, little novelty spots, like, and I've surfed it and everything, and I've had fun on it.
Some waves where I'm even like, don't do it. Don't take it out there.
Yeah,
I don't want you to buckle it.
Yeah, he doesn't
And
want
was
to
just
break
fine.
it. He's freaking out, yelling at me, "What are you doing? Don't ride that board. Break this one out." But no, it's just been a really fun, just all around type of board.
The other thing that's really cool about what we did unique with these is, you know, a really light board that's springy and flexy is rad for small, whatever, you know, kind of fishy or grovelly performance shortboard mixed with a fish type of, you know, conglomeration that is these boards is, and so to get that, what we did is a blank that's not like a full, like as ultralight as you could go, but definitely on the lighter, more team light, ultralight scale, and then glassed it with single layers top and bottom. And so on the bottom, I glassed it with just a single layer of 4-ounce warped glass, which hot coats real nice and flat, and then on the deck, a layer of what's called fast glass, which has S glass running one way and D size running the other. And I just did one layer of that because it's a really strong glass for break strength and compression dense. Almost as strong as like a layer of 6-ounce, but with where 6-ounce makes the board real rigid and heavy. The single 4s, the lamination is the same top and bottom, so it really is going to flex with a balanced flex characteristic, so it rebounds, the sides rebound off each other, and it makes for a really lively board. And you'll get your deck dents and stuff, but for like an ultimate performance in averagey waves, this type of glass job is a real high performance option that you can do. And you will get pressure dents, but they crush in and then they stop. They don't like crush in and then de-lam out. And this board's already been through the ringer, and it's holding like steady,
it's
but
fine.
it's like, it feels like people always go, what is that, epoxy? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
It's just a formula for an ultralight poly that's pretty nukes.
No, it's super solid. The one last thing I was going to mention too is just the flatter deck. One of the things I noticed right away, like when I first stood up on it at the pool that day, first wave, but it almost has a little bit of a spring to it because the flat deck actually, I feel like it lets the board like flex a little bit more, whereas
Totally.
it's like the normal, like a kind of dome shaped deck where like typically I feel like that kind of would like stiffen up the board a little bit more.
Totally
like,
does.
you know, so
Mhm.
the flat deck is actually again something new that I haven't tried before, and Todd and I wanted to do something different, so he did the flat deck, and that was one of the things I noticed too. It had a little bit more of a spring to it, kind of a little bit of you could feel it kind of like flex a little bit and kind of spring into your turns. So yeah,
And it's got a little beak nose for you know,
just looking
cool
cool.
factor.
Yeah.
And yeah, so then Nick had another idea after this for like a step up, like kind of good waves version of this same feel, because
Yeah.
this draws a really unique line that feels like a shortboard can't really draw that clean of a like gouge through, hold speed clean all the way through line.
I think I just had this like vision in my head of like, I loved the feel of what was going on from like this thing was like I remember telling Todd, it's like, dude, we're just going up levels. Like each time we're like going up to the next level, and this one is like
In waves, like.
this one's still like a gem, right? And like the like
Yeah.
knee to waist high, like just small grovelly little point waves where you just want to go fast and connect the dots, and you know, and be able to stay on your toes, and you know, and kind of like actually have like a really fun session when the waves are normally where you'd be like, yeah, I don't want to surf. But that's where this board comes in, where you're like, dude, I can go surf and have fun. And then yeah, like when you typically wouldn't want to go surf. And then this one's like the higher performance version of this, where like you want to surf and like probably waist to like head high, you know, and you want to be able to like actually like, you know, start like doing like way more like higher performance kind of turns and rail work and stuff like that. And then there was something so special about those two, like the way that they felt. I was thinking like, dude, it'd be sick if we can incorporate like what's going on with the bottom and the fin setup and all of that, and take that and like and put it into like a little bit more of a short board version. So like when we get to waves that are like, you know, head high, double overhead, like say like, you know, Rincon's firing, or you know, Malibu's like going off, or you know, something like that, where there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of wave face, there's a lot of like power there, and just because of how drivey these felt, I thought, dude, it would be insane if we could incorporate that and put it into more of a kind of a shorter, longer, skinnier, narrower version of it.
So this one we went 2 inches longer, like 2 inches longer than the original little critter.
Yeah.
And then an inch narrower, so a whole inch narrower. And then everything else is the same rail. No, actually we went like an 1/8 inch thicker here too. Kept the deck flat, but went an 1/8 inch thicker, so that it would, even though we went narrower, you know, and lost a little volume with that, it bumped the volume back up to like a liter more than what that is. So for like bigger stuff where you got to really move around and like, you know, keep the paddle glide going. But then the rail here is the same, and then also added just a hair more entry rocker just from like here up, just so when you're more power and you tag something where it's steeper, you got a little more curve in the front end of the board, so like you come around, you know.
And this board is something I feel like when you get into the bigger waves, it's not gonna feel like I think like more of like, I guess if you were to ride like a normal shortboard where you kind of have to like really like work super hard to catch waves, and there's like, it's just so much like more paddling and more like, I don't know, I guess, yeah, just like more work to try and catch waves. Whereas this is kind of like, again, it's kind of like the same, like it's fishy, it's has that feel where there's more foam there, and you can, but it's easier to paddle and catch waves on. But it's also just insanely drivey. So when you do get a big wave, it's not like, oh, I feel like I'm on this little like, you know, Pop-Tart board. It's like the polar opposite. You feel like you're on like a step-up or something, and there's a ton of drive, a ton of like speed off the bottom, and then when you come into a turn, you can really, again, I can't emphasize this enough, but like the amount of torque you can put on your turns with the bigger side fins like that is just, it's an insane feeling when you get the right wave for it. But
with the V, like the spiral V and the bigger fins and the trailer.
Yeah.
And
you can really push hard on the rail.
And what is this one called, guys?
This is, we don't have a name for it yet. The Magnum Opus
We've been
Step-Up.
going back and forth with like this one being the Magnum Opus, and then this one being the little critter.
But that one feels kind of like a Magnum Opus because it's just such a like breakthrough thing. So we're not sure yet. I'm thinking the Magnum Opus. And
I wanted
Magnum
to take
Opus Step-Up.
one of Indy's little drawings and for the logo and put it in there and call it the
My
little
daughter's
critter.
got all these drawings that
Yeah.
are cool. So either way, there's going to be a little critter, no doubt about it. It's just I don't know if it's going to be this or
The little critter.
there was something else I was going to say about this, but I can't remember what the heck it was.
I think we covered it. think you nailed it.
Just the drive and the follow through on the turns in this that's so unique that has that same feel, but just in a bigger wave format.
I think
Like
again,
there's turns that this does
Yeah.
that you don't see on shortboards.
Yeah.
It's like it's
like I said, it's super drivey. It's really, really, really drivey with the bigger side fins, and you can push like as hard as you want. You can push as hard as you want on it, and you're not gonna. It's just gonna push back. That's what I really liked about it. It's like you know, normally like a thruster again, like you can only push so hard till they kind of start to want to, you know, to slide a little bit. Whereas these, like you can go Mach 10 and like just lay it on a rail, and it just holds and a whole way through.
the follow through is what I noticed is the raddest. Like that wave I saw you get at Rincon on
Yeah.
this. Like the top turn, the follow through looks like something you don't see that much anymore because it's almost like high performance boards. A lot of times you'll see something really radical like an air or a fin waft or something, and then it's like kind of recovery mode.
Yeah.
This is almost like that classic
Oh.
open front side gouge, follow through, and then come flying out of it straight in your next maneuver without a need for like, okay, recovery,
Bobble.
recovery, double pump, triple pump, okay, throw it in there again. It's like gouge through, keep speed, accelerate straight out one continuous bottom turn straight into the next.
Connecting the dots.
So
That's definitely
unique.
Definitely what this one and these that's what all three of them are doing. This one's great again. Smaller waves, medium fun size, and the larger scale open face.
Magnum
red
Opus.
stick.
You.